Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Anthony Giarrusso, here to tell you about my paranormal experiences within an area that I call the New Hampshire Triangle. Now, this is a little bit of a joke here at the beginning because, ironically, New Hampshire already looks kind of like a triangle. Now, what's really interesting is growing up and meeting other people that I've met over the years have told me about ghost sightings and other paranormal things that have happened across the state. However, in reality, out of all the states, New Hampshire is probably the least paranormal out of all the states, at least from my research and from me interacting with other people. But I have had a few paranormal instances, and some of them were very extreme in comparison to the rest of my paranormal journey of my life. So I'm going to show you real quick, right in this area, near the seacoast of New Hampshire, of what I have encountered in the New Hampshire Triangle. Alright, so here is a map, and you can go visit these locations, okay, if you really wanted to. But it'll be up to you to decide if you do or not. So here's the seacoast of New Hampshire. And one of these encounters is not technically paranormal, but I put it in the paranormal category because a lot of people associate it with paranormal activity and UFO sightings. So I just put it there as extra. So pretty much from Odeon Point all the way to Exeter High School, and then near where I used to live in Stroud, New Hampshire. So in no particular order, let's just start from left to right. These are not in the order of dates, but I'm just going to show you. So at Exeter High School, right here, it only happened once. I was in Pettig's classroom alone, and this was this old disabled guy that was one of my teachers. Just for extra context, he was the wheelchair teacher. I don't remember why I was there, but I remembered I heard a whispering voice say, Anthony. It was like that. Anthony. It was just a whisper of my first name. I had nothing else paranormal happen to me at that location. So pretty much I was alone. I was in his classroom, and that happened. The voice. It was a whisper voice. Alright, so here's where I used to live, in Stratham, New Hampshire, right off of Laura Lane. I guess for extra context, my family actually moved away from this place for a number of reasons, including issues that I personally had with emotional trauma, specifically from my next door neighbors. And even 12 years later, I haven't seen them for 12 years, and I still hold an emotional grudge against them, and I cannot see them as equals. But let's get right into my paranormal experiences. So this had been seen multiple nights, all different times. I was out on the back patio, and pretty much what I saw was... I want to make sure I got this right. So I was out on the back patio, and I actually saw what I call a falling star phenomenon. I saw this multiple nights. I did not put any dates or times on these because I didn't figure out to do that until I moved to Florida years later. But some of these I saw when I don't know how young I was. I was maybe like elementary school, maybe middle school. I don't remember exactly when I first started seeing this. But there were a few nights, and I would see something pulsate, and it would be white, and it looked like a glint. You know, like how like a glint of light has like a 4-point star kind of shine to it? Well, it was doing that when it was pulsating, but then it was spinning around in place with the glint going around, spinning around. And then it would drop vertically straight down while the spinning glint in vertical place, and then it would just suddenly disappear. I saw that a few nights here. So this was my first ghost sighting in New Hampshire. I did technically have a ghost sighting with my adoptive father, but that was in Florida, and that was a ghost airplane that we both encountered when we were walking on a boardwalk. I think I was in middle school then, but this was after high school, after I graduated high school. I think it was in like 2014 or early 2015. I didn't put down the dates. I didn't start putting down dates of all this paranormal stuff that happened to me until years later, because I started having paranormal experiences almost routinely. But let's just talk about this one. So the ghost that I saw in my bedroom, her skin was as white as sour cream and was very slender. Her face was slender too. So pretty much what that means is imagine the sour cream white, that kind of white on a human. Okay. Very slender, almost sickly kind of. And she had a very slender looking face, slender body, very unusual. She had soft, gentle looking eyes. The eyes themselves were white, like a living person's eyes, but her irises were light gray and her pupils were medium gray. Her left shoulder was perpendicular to the wall. Okay, so not parallel, perpendicular. Okay. She was standing on one side in the middle of the bedroom, staring blankly at the corner of the room. And she was like in the middle, but right on the side. So like her left shoulder would have been right up, almost up against the wall, but kind of in the middle of the bedroom, but up against the wall, if that makes sense to you. Hopefully it does. She was wearing a white gown and white Dutch wooden shoes. You know, like those ones that some people would joke around and call them clodhoppers. You know, but they were the Dutch wooden shoes. She stood still like a statue, and I was looking at her. Only her eyes moved in my direction, as if she could not move her body. I came closer to her. I noticed her eyes. Sometimes they would face forward, then they would look back towards me. Now what was happening is like, imagine somebody who can't move their body at all, like if they're fully paralyzed, but they can move their eyes. That's kind of like what was going on. I noticed her eyes. Sometimes they would face forward, then look back toward me. She looked like a real living person. I could see the texture of her skin. I said to her, "I want to help you." Then a voice came from behind me and exclaimed my name, "Anthony!" I turned around immediately. One of my video game cases fell out of my closet as if it was pushed there. I turned back to where she was, but she was no longer there. I heard a woman's voice say, "Thank you." I think this lady and the unknown voice that said my name knew each other. Was one of those ghosts dangerous? Perhaps both of them needed help. What would have happened if I ignored the video game case falling and kept looking at her? That's what I wrote of my encounter with this ghost. But now we're going to get into everyone's favorite story, the blue guy story. I'm thinking about renaming this. I will call this entity the Stratum Sneak because it was in Stratham, New Hampshire, and it sneaked into my bedroom. If you want to see the full story of this, it's called The Blue Guy by Anthony Giarrusso because I saw and encountered and interacted with a blue humanoid salamander raptor human bizarre entity that was temporarily physical, at least for the encounter. Could be an alien. I've been told that it was an evil demon. It could be really anything. I just call it a cryptid because it's more cryptid in nature than anything else that I've encountered, but it could be any of those possibilities. It was an unknown, intelligent, non-human, humanoid entity. I lived in New Hampshire at the time. The house was tacky looking from the outside. It was gray with pink shutters. Yuck! My parents have no taste in color combinations. It was nighttime and I woke up. My body was still as I saw a humanoid creature on top of me. I could feel the weight of something on the bed covers. Okay, so pretty much what happened right then and there, I was lying in bed on my back, and something was on top of the quilt, and it was pushing down on, like, my shins. Okay. I also remember seeing kind of like a humanoidish black shadow when I first opened my eyes. So that was kind of unusual. And I sat up and I was eye to eye with it. I became paralyzed after I had sat up. So this wasn't like when everyone gets paralyzed when they're lying down. I was already sitting up with half my body perpendicular to the bed. Okay? And then I became paralyzed. That might be very important, I'm not sure. Immediately, for some reason, I remembered the game Ace Combat and the jamming systems. I said out loud, "Signal jammed," as if the sensation of being paralyzed had to do with this cryptid of a jamming frequency of my muscle function. Saying this freed me from being paralyzed. I did not know, but I felt like I needed to fight. I tried punching at the creature. I forgot that I did that, and I did. I do remember that now. Its muscles flexed as it dodged my attack. Oh wow. I'm really remembering this now. That's crazy. Going through this. I noticed the skin of the creature. It looked amphibian-like, and there was a unique pattern to it. And I'll interject a picture of what I'm seeing right now. I noticed that the skin had elongated hexagonal pattern with each hexagon the same size. I don't know if it was a hexagon or octagon. I really don't remember. But it had something weird going on. Okay. Hexagonal, octagonal. I don't even remember right now, but I do remember seeing it. I think in one report, the one I originally published, it said octagons, and then this one I wrote hexagons. I don't know why. But, again, I guess it's just a technicality. But if one day we figure out exactly what I encountered, maybe it was there for me, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. Each diameter from the furthest away sides of the elongated shapes were about the same as the width as a number 2 pencil. So they were like about... So here's the width of like a number 2 pencil. Okay, that's like how the width. So from side to side, okay, the width of this pencil is how big they were. But if they were hexagons or octagons, I don't really fully remember. I think they may have been octagons, but again, it's a technicality. It was about... So the longest length was the width of the number 2 pencil of whatever this skin texture thing was, okay? The short sides of the hexagon were smaller than that. And they kind of look like elongated octagon, hexagon, whatever you want to call them. I noticed the shape and coloration of the amphibian-like humanoid. Its head was wider than it was tall. Okay, that's only the head. The head was wider than the head's tallness. Okay? It had human-like hands with opposable thumbs, but no fingernails. It had a light blue belly, but I could see clearly that the skin in between the elongated shapes, okay, so in between those elongated hexagon, octagon shapes, it was royal blue. Well, actually, I think it was a little bit brighter than royal blue. I think it was more like a cayenne blue, if I remember. Kind of more like the fangs of like a jumping spider. Like their venom glands. I think it was more like that. But it was a different color blue, whatever. Oh wait, no. Hold on a minute. On the belly, this is where I got confused. On the belly, where you had that light blue color, in between those, that was dark blue, yes. And where the dark blue octagon, hexagon things on the skin, that's where the that bright cayenne blue was. Okay. The creature jumped off of me. I felt a weight difference immediately, when it left my bed sheets over me. Okay, it hit the ground with a thud. I had wooden flooring in that room at that time. Okay, and I heard it. So I felt this creature already. I heard the creature already. It turned as I ripped off the bed sheets. Now, I remember as soon as it hit the floor, the stuff on my bureau and my nightstand and my shelves, it rumbled a bit. And the stuff, okay, back in New Hampshire, I obviously had different stuff, but these are the same shelves. So if I hit it, it was kind of like that kind of sound. But there was other stuff on here. And that's what happened when this blue guy hit the hardwood flooring in that New Hampshire house. I felt the weight difference immediately when it jumped off me. And I was getting ready to pursue the creature. I was going to run after it. I saw the back of this thing. It was dark blue with splotches of black and had a raptor, like a dinosaur raptor-like tail. I was now on my feet, and I looked at my alarm clock, and it was exactly 1 a.m. I heard the creature reaching for the door handle. And it was so bizarre. For some reason, I think this happened. I don't remember if it exactly happened, but for some reason, I'm remembering now. For whatever reason, I felt like I wanted to eat the creature or something. It's so weird, but I'm thinking to myself, there's no reason for me to eat a creature like this. That's kind of silly. That's ridiculous. And what's even funnier and more ironic now is now that I'm older, if I saw this creature again in real life or encountered it again, I would probably try to make it a friend of mine or maybe even adopt it as my own child. But I remembered when I was standing on my feet getting ready to chase after this entity that I felt a really sinister presence, but it wasn't this entity running away from me. The sinister presence felt like it was coming from me itself. And that I was the scary monster that night, not it. And I could feel this entity's fear of me. It was terrified of Anthony Giarrusso. The creature reached up for the door handle. Its right hand grabbed the handle and it was having trouble opening the door. I also noticed it had opposable thumbs but no fingernails. Now in New Hampshire, we didn't have these locks. It was the same kind of door handle, but without the lock. I heard the entity grab the door handle, and it made a ratcheting sound of this when it pulled down, and it did that. Very unusual. The creature had knees, and it had humanoid legs, and the feet were weird, the toes and stuff. But I noticed the toes and the feet kind of when it was on me a bit, but you could also tell from the side. It had kind of roundish toes, kind of like a frog, but a frog's toes, yes, they're round, but they're flat. And these were not flat. They were almost like, I don't know, like balls or berries. Like that kind of shape. You know, like blueberries. But imagine those are like toes on this creature. I don't know. So I'm just trying to make it so then you can kind of understand what I saw to the best of my ability of what I did see. I took a step forward and I felt this creature's fear of me, like I said. This cryptid was petrified of me. It opened my door and slammed the door open, and it hit the wall. Well, technically, I don't remember if it hit the wall or the doorstop. It might have hit the doorstop, but it was loud when it hit. Okay. I chased after it, and it ran down the hallway, I remember. The lights were on in the living room, and my adoptive mother was crocheting. But how the house would have been, so my bedroom's over here. I ran down here. My little brother's bedroom's over here. So it took a left, and then I took a left. The light was on in the living room area. The couch was here, placed here. Then we had stairs that went downstairs. And then we had a dining room. And then the kitchen was like about here. So I went around the corner, right? I lost sight of this blue-skinned creature with the black splotches on its back, with that unique dinosaur raptor tail. So I lose sight of it. I come around the corner, and then right around the corner, okay, it went into the dining room and into the kitchen, or maybe it was a different one, but the tail looked like it was olive green. That could have been just because of the lighting, or it could have the ability to change its color, like a reptile where they can change their color for like camouflage and stuff. Now, here's what was really annoying, okay? My dad, that literally the night before said, don't come into my bedroom because you're making too much noise. My dad's door was open in his bedroom, okay? Which is kind of normal. At the time, that was kind of normal for him. But I'd go in and I'd get a toilet paper in the middle of the night because I use a lot of toilet paper and stuff. And he was upset with me going in there. And now I don't see the tail. Now I don't see this entity at all. The entity completely disappeared. There's no way it went in front of my adoptive mom. Okay. So my adoptive father's sleeping in bed. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go in there because my dad literally told me last night not to go in there. So I just stopped the pursuit once I got to the kitchen. It could have went into my dad's bedroom. Maybe it knew that's how it was going to escape. I don't know. But I just, stopped. And then I'm pretty sure, I remember my mom asking, what are you doing up going to bed? And I told her I was following a creature. I don't remember if I told her that it was like this big humanoid demon, extraterrestrial, interdimensional type thing. I think I just said I was following a creature. I think that's all I said. And then there was no response from my mom, and then that was the end of the account, and I just went back to bed. So, yep, I really wish I put a date on this. I really wish I did, but I was young, so that's pretty amazing. Okay. I wish I put a date on it, but I was, too young to really think about that kind of thing. I'm just glad I got the time detail. if I didn't look at that clock and it wasn't exactly 1 a.m., I probably would have never even reported that. So, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back right now. I'm patting myself on the back for doing a good job. All right. And it's really unfortunate, it's really what I noticed is it's definitely a communication breakdown between me and this entity. So it's both my fault and its fault. And it's because of that lack of communication was I able to understand why it was there or why it encountered me. So there's obviously a communication breakdown and it was failure on both of our parts. But it's just interesting, Out of 8 billion people, that entity either A, came to see me on purpose, came to see me by accident, maybe it got there completely by accident out of like a 1 out of 8 billion chance of, making a mistake. Right? Maybe I was able to extract this entity from where it came from, and that was my fault. I don't know. Another possibility is maybe it's a time traveler from a different time. It came to the right place, but maybe the wrong time. I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities out there. Moving on to UFOs now. Now, again, in New Hampshire, I didn't see a whole lot, but this one was weird. It appeared flying low over the trees and across the backyard and the side yard going northeast. It was night with snow on the ground. It looked like a race car driver with an extended neck and backwards trapezoid fixed wings. Okay. This was the night that I literally just came home from karate class. And I was young. And I saw this thing. I'll show you a drawing of it real quick. So I saw this thing just flying in my backyard very low. Possibly trying to avoid radar because it was flying really low to the trees. It was definitely a manufactured something, or unless if it's a separate entity that happens to look like this, I don't know. But it could definitely have been built by humans. I thought it might have been maybe like a spy craft because I knew at the time that a lot of people would make spy crafts in the spy industry, and they'd all be like one-off prototypes that they'd only use for like one mission and then they'd get rid of it. But it could have been, a UFO or something really bizarre. And because I don't know what it is, that's why I call it a UFO. It had like a 6-foot wingspan, backwards trapezoid fixed wings, very unusual. This UFO sighting I had one night, the power went out. It was night, humid, wet, and the power was out. I saw a bullet-shaped UFO with an illuminating white light from the rounded part of the bullet and the dull, solid part on the bottom part of the bullet. Okay, so didn't have any light. So I think I wrote that wrong. So what happened is I saw a UFO, and actually, no, I think that's right. I don't remember that well, but I saw a UFO. You know, like what a gun bullet looks like? I think it was illuminating from the rounded side, like the front and the sides. Like, like how like a rocket illuminates from the back? Well, on this one, it was like there was no light on the back part of the bullet. It was all on the front, outside, rounded part of the bullet of this UFO. I don't remember exactly how big it was, but it was bigger than me. Well, it's kind of like how this goes, you know? Like, I asked God to be able to see UFOs, and then I started seeing UFOs, and it wasn't until after I asked God did I start seeing UFOs, and it's just a reality here. But this one was interesting because of its shape. You know, maybe it was smaller than me. I don't really remember. I've seen so many UFOs that's one of the reasons why I document them down, because there's no way for me to just remember all of them and pull them up in my mind. Only a handful really stand out to me. But this one was kind of weird because it's at night, it's wet outside, okay? And then I see this UFO fly from this way, going this way. See the mouse going that way. And I was right about there. The power is out. It was wet, but it wasn't raining. And I'm walking up here, and then I walk up to here. I don't remember if I walked back down and then back up, or if I stayed up here. I remember I stood up here for a little while. And then I remembered seeing there was some weird stuff going on. I remembered seeing a police car going this way with its lights on. And then I remembered seeing something very unusual. I remembered seeing it was like a convoy, and it was coming from this way, going this way towards Stratum Circle, and it was so strange. Though I remember seeing a flatbed truck with its headlights off, and there was a vehicle behind it. I think it was one vehicle behind it, or two. I remember there was at least 3 other vehicles with that flatbed truck. And one vehicle also had its lights kind of off. Like, you know, like how you can have a vehicle with the headlights off, but then it has its, like, yellow or, like, sub beam, or I guess they call it, I don't know if it's low beam. No, it's like, it's not regular beam. You know, like in your car, and there's like a feature, it's either they're off, or then you have like those 2 little orangey lights, they come on, and then you have another setting with your headlights on. Well, one of the vehicles was like that, with the orange lights only on. The flatbed truck's lights were completely off, and there was a car behind it, I believe. I don't remember if it's 2. I don't remember the placement that well. But there was one car leading the convoy with its headlights on, and then the final vehicle had its headlights on, and they were driving very close to each other. Very suspicious, right? Either they're going after the UFO, or they're gonna go and like rob a bank, like you'd see like in like a video game like Grand Theft Auto or something. Okay. Could have been either, or it could have been a coincidence. But you know, 1 out of 8 billion people, and I'm the one seeing all this stuff. And then you consider the likeliness of all these cells and the existence of every single cell in my body and every other human's body, and the likeliness of creation of humans, and then I'm the one human that sees this. I don't know. I mean, coincidences? I'm not so sure about that, but you gotta be open to the possibility of coincidences, right? Right? I don't know. Anyway, I also heard helicopters. It sounded like there could have been as many as 5 helicopters, but I only saw 2. Okay. And they did not look like... I was kind of surprised. They were not the Chinooks. These are like attack helicopters. So I thought maybe what I saw was like a exercise gone wrong of maybe some kind of military... what do they look like? I think they kind of... I don't know if they look like the Bell or if they looked like the... Now, I think I saw the helicopters after the convoy, but... this was long ago and I didn't write down enough information. I think I should have definitely written down more information. But I think I saw those after. It sounded like I said, 5. Could have been the Boeing or the Bell helicopters, the attack ones. You know, could have just been a coincidence. Maybe it was like something that had to do with that, but you know. So the helicopters would have been somewhere near where this cursor is when I saw them. But I don't know if they actually crossed the road or not. I don't remember. It's like somewhere in this general area. And it sounded like there were helicopters flying this way, back here, but also, you know, sometimes sounds echo through the woods and stuff, so I'm not really sure. But awfully unusual. And that's it for traditional paranormal experiences. But this, a black helicopter sighting. Why would I put black helicopters as something in a paranormal thing? Well, a lot of people see black helicopters if UFOs or sometimes paranormal activity show up. Maybe it's just the helicopter generates an unknown energy and then paranormal shows up right before it. I don't know. Okay, could be coincidence as well, but this was during Jade Helm. So I was getting my exercise in Odeon Point, and everyone can go there. They have old like military bunkers that are really cool. It's a great place, and you can go tide pooling and see all the cool creatures. They even have like a little like aquarium you can visit. It's great. Go there. Odeon Point. That's Odioorne Point. I was on the trail. I was getting my exercise when a black unmarked military-style helicopter flew out of nowhere and banked away towards the ocean. This was during the Jade Helm biowarfare practice going on across the country. Okay? So, I mean, it could have been just like a contractor or, you know, somebody flying a black helicopter. Who cares? I don't know. Right? But what makes it suspicious and why you should care is because of the Jade Helm stuff going on. Okay? And I don't remember if that was the same day or if it was a different day, but I met a guy at this park. It might have been a different day, I don't remember. And he said that he was working or had worked. I think he had worked. I think he was retired, if I remember correctly now. Had worked as a Air Force Reserve person, and he used to fly the airplanes and stuff, and we got into conversation. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but it happened at this Odeon Point place, so I don't even remember exactly what happened, But it was this kind of black helicopter, you know, the same shape as the picture. I think that's a Bell. Okay. Some kind of all black Bell helicopter, you know, the matte black ones. You can't miss them. Sometimes they have them at air shows. You know, like you can't make the stuff up. And there's no air show in town, so, you know, kind of weird. And it's even more weird because I'm the one who encountered it, right? I'm an anomaly. And so was this black helicopter. I'm Anthony Giarrusso, and that is the New Hampshire Triangle weird stuff that happened to me personally. Maybe you can relate to this stuff. Maybe you cannot. Okay, if you can't, post a comment below why you can't relate. And if you can relate, I also want you to post a comment. Because people who can relate, you know, maybe we can become friends in the near future. That's really awesome. And maybe you know somebody, like your family member or friend, who experienced black helicopters, UFOs, cryptids, falling star phenomenon, ghosts. Put it in the comment section below. I am Anthony Giarrusso. Press the like button, subscribe, or email me your encounter, your experiences of anything unusual or suspicious at wondersofAnthony@gmail.com. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.